So, Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck Schuldiner.
Schuldiner Chuck. As they would say in Japan. Schuldiner Chuck.
Schuldiner Chuck. Chuck-san. And death's many tours to Japan. Chuck-san, as he was called. No, we were talking about metal today on House of Decline with a specific focus on the band Death and its main creative force, Chuck Schuldiner. Because I hadn't really explored these guys before. And Steven was like, you should really listen to Death. You should really listen to these guys. They're really, really good.
They're one of the few metal bands that you gotta, if you're not a huge metal fan, you still gotta know about Death. Because they're one of the progenitors of the genre, death metal. Not the only ones. There, bands came before them, notably like Deicide.
Or Venom is like where black metal and death metal.
Venom was before both.
Roots.
Was before both
Yes.
black or death metal, and both genres are influenced by Venom. Venom's a little Venom's a little annoying.
Yeah, they are annoying, but they get called the fathers of black metal because one of their albums is called black metal. So it's like, oh, there you go, right there.
Yeah.
If we want, the same way Death was just called Death.
Yeah.
So, it's death metal,
If you want, we can talk about Burzum too later because I'm a new Burzum fan.
We'll talk about your problematic love of Burzum.
They're just great. I didn't know how good the music was.
I think Death is also a good band to talk about in terms of the metal genre as a whole because they represent such a nexus between the old style of metal, exemplified, at its peak by new wave of British heavy metal, and sort of everything that came after it, like the huge, endless subgenres of metal that came in the 90s, Even his influence can be felt in metalcore, which I don't listen to. I hate it, but it's still there. Chuck Schuldiner's in everything. And so I think as a window into other genres of this other weird subgenre, I shouldn't call it a weird subgenre, but what I wanted to start it off with, Steven, I wanted to ask you, why do you think, because we know guitar music is in decline as a mainstream force of art, but metal, defying this trend, is still very much a healthy record-selling genre for its specific cohort. So why do you think metal has sort of this place in culture, this almost permanent place in culture?
I mean, I think it's very masculine music. And when you go to a metal show, it's often it seems very adolescent in terms of heightened emotions. Oftentimes metal is emotion-driven music as opposed to like prog rock, which is
fancy boy driven music, finger living driven music.
It's the thinking man's music, whereas metal is like the feeling man's music. Metal is like about a emotion. There's three.
A phrase that I often hear metal fans say when you ask them, why metal, is surge of power. I hear that phrase a lot. Like this, it's energy music in the same way that, punk is energy music.
Yeah.
But I think metal has more, because it isn't tied to trendiness or fashion in a way that punk is. Metal sort of subsists in its own realm and has never been sort of subject to this push and pull of like mainstream music politics.
Right. I mean, I don't know what the current scene is like now. I don't know I don't know if there is a new hot metal band. Can you think of one? Like a newish? The newest?
I think it's all it's metalcore shit that's really popular, right? Like Bullet for My Valentine is popular or something like that. Whiny guys.
I don't know if there's been a big
guys.
Breakthrough. I would have thought I would have heard maybe, but I don't really have my ear.
I mean, there's also
ground.
hipster metal now, which is
like the Sword.
Death Heaven and people like that.
I was thinking
Liturgy.
I was thinking the Sword.
Sword. I mean, the Sword is a power metal band that is self-aware about how goofy power metal is, which is, I guess, the innovation of the Sword.
They dress like hipsters.
Yes, they certainly do.
I appreciate that about them. I like them more after I saw that they dressed like hipsters. I guess that's just me being conformist.
I think it's like I think it's a certain type of metal. There's sort of a criticism of that sort of more hipstery metal is it doesn't really take seriously the tropes of metal, or it like takes sort of a divorced or meta approach to metal, like where it understands the tropes and then deconstructs them because it's like, what, you're not good enough for our tropes anymore?
Yeah.
People have that reaction. It's like, what, you can't take all of this darkness and sadness and growly shit seriously? Then why are you even in metal? You know, why are you trying to, you know, change it into something where you're thinking about it in an abstract sense as opposed to feeling it? Like people, like metal fans that don't like hipster metal, like Death Heaven or Liturgy, are like, if you take away from if you abstractify the world of metal, it loses its power, you know?
Maybe.
I feel like because it makes it less emotional. Like you said, it's an emotional form of music.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a political form of music, like punk can often be, or like punk I don't necessarily associate with like emotional expression, but rather sort of sarcasm or snottiness or rebellion in a lot of senses. I mean, there is emotional punk music. That was the innovation of emo. But yeah, metal is very much about your angry male feelings.
Yeah, and like working through them.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about. Like, I haven't been to that many metal shows, but the ones I have been to are really like a bunch of people getting together to take out their aggression in a healthy way.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, you know, it's sort of like how you will wrestle with your buds, but you get to do it to a soundtrack.
Yeah.
And everyone it's like the mosh pit is where everyone looks out for each other.
Ideally, there are bad mosh pits.
Yeah, there can be. I mean, in terms of most recent, what I've seen in terms of the metal culture, when quarantine started, I saw a very funny Minecraft Wall of Death because Lamb of God did a Minecraft concert. And so there was and of course the Wall of Death is where you get two sides of people lining up, and then they just at a certain point run into each other. And they were doing it with the Minecraft characters. Which was
virtual metal concerts.
Yeah.
The community, but it is a very community-oriented genre as well, because I think, you know, as sort of a dude, it's hard to talk about your feelings sometimes. It's hard to talk about your sense of utter alienation from the world in a way that, you know, because society has sort of limited your ability to express emotion. It calls you like a fag if you do it in a non-normative way. So metal sort of gives you a shorthand along with other young people. Metal is a very male-dominated genre. There's lots of women who like it, but it's objectively male-dominated.
I think it's changing. I think we'll see more female metal bands, which I think will be great because at least vocally you can do a lot of stuff metal has not had. Like, most female vocalists in metal are generally going to be in symphonic metal, which we've both agreed is super lame.
Yeah, it's one of the lamest genres. I mean, it's not also... If it has, like, a chubby lady opera singer as its front person, it's going to be bad. If it's, like... If you consider, like, Dimmu Borgir symphonic metal, Dimmu Borgir is fine.
Well, there is... Cradle of Filth is a symphonic metal band, and they're just very funny for how depressing they are.
Yes, because they are
they're featured theatrical. In that... Do you remember that show, The IT Crowd?
Yes.
And, is it Noel Fielding?
Yeah, Noel Fielding plays.
Who's
the
server guy, the goth server guy who's really into Cradle of Filth.
Yeah.
He's just giving people Cradle of Filth albums all the time.
Oh, man, I fucking love the IT Crowd. It's a shame that fucking Graham Linehan's such a fucking asshole.
Is that the white guy?
No, it's the creator of the IT Crowd and a lot of other great British sitcoms. Graham Linehan is very anti-trans. And not just, like, casually anti-trans. He went into the J.K. Rowling territory where it's like, okay, this is all I talk about now. This is my mission in life.
That's weird.
Is to be like, these fucking pronouns are taking our jobs or whatever.
These pronouns are taking my jobs away.
These fucking pronouns are taking our job.
I don't know. Anyone who makes a show and puts a laugh track in it is gonna be, I think, pretty narcissistic. It's like, come on.
Oh my god! But yeah, the IT crowd has a lot of funny, and they do mention Cradle of Filth in the IT crowd.
It's Noel Fielding's character who mentions it.
Yeah, and but we can all agree. Yeah, the other lady metal I can think of is Girl School, who are sort of Motorhead's lady cohorts. There's like stuff like Flyleaf, but yeah, stuff that came in the wake of Evanescence.
I mean, Evanescence at least was very popular and
very influential.
Is still extremely popular.
Yeah,
which is
wake me up,
funny.
Wake me up inside. Yeah. So yeah, I think broad strokes why metal is popular and has this just permanent popularity is because it speaks to this unique suppression/aggression thing that a lot of people have. And it provides the sound of that for a lot of people. Also, it's, a lot of people's entryway into reconciling the horrors of war, for example. Like, war metal is a very prominent genre, especially in Canada. What are bands like that? I guess Pig Destroyer wouldn't count as that. But, they have sort of that thing where you're trying to reconcile the horror of the world, but you want to do it in a way that doesn't make you sound weak.
I've been reminded of a metal band with girls that I think is not in the symphonic metal, and I'm very in favor of, which is baby metal.
Baby metal, of course, metal.
Yes,
they all love baby metal.
They are great. They're a Japanese teen idol group. Japanese people are huge metal fans.
Oh yes, absolutely. But they experience it in some would say a different way.
Yeah, not to stereotype, but many metal bands, there's the trope of the metal bands being like, okay, where can we tour now? We are done with America, and they go to Japan.
Yeah.
Megadeth was huge in Japan.
Marty Friedman lives there now.
Yeah,
and speaks
so much to
Japanese.
the point. Yeah, that the best guitarist to ever play with Megadeth ended up moving to Japan. So that's
and he is just like an eternal fixture on Japanese television. It's like, I know Marty Friedman-san. Hello, Tokyo. I'm here to throw cupcakes at a lady.
Another thing to talk about in terms of like the popularity of metal sort of reaching a peak potentially is Death Clock.
Yeah.
Because that became a popular show, and they, go through the stereotypes of metal, like, to the point of burying it.
Yeah. I mean, Death Album is still the number one selling death metal album of all time. A parody of death metal is the number one selling album of that genre, which I think speaks to two things. One, how the extremity of the genre can lend itself to humor. I think some bands lean into that. Like Dave Mustaine. Like, Megadeth is a funny band. They make jokes in their songs. Similar with Anthrax. They make jokes. But some bands take themselves deadly seriously, I think sometimes to their own detriment. I was thinking about Slayer's Angel of Death the other day, and how it's like, it's just a bunch of Holocaust images. They're not saying anything about the Holocaust. They're just like, Holocaust, 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 Holocaust. I mean, I like the lyrics. They're metal as hell, but it's not like there's no deeper meaning. Or there's nothing like, there's no thesis. There's no point. There's no statement they're making that they're shaping with their sort of like emotional imagery of their lyrics. And that's why I wanted to talk about Death.
Yeah, let's get back to talking about
very special in this regard.
Death is... Is it the first two or the first three albums where...
The first two records, it's like it's standard gore horror lyrics. Great riffs, but very in 4/4. Yeah. Not that complicated yet. But it's this... What separates it is... It sounds very much like new wave of British heavy metal music, but with growly vocals over it and like grosser lyrical content.
Yeah, very much like gore lyrics, like Halloween movie lyrics.
Yeah. What's the first album called again?
Scream Bloody Gore.
That one's good. And then the next one after that has this fucking great album art of these zombie, like, EC old horror comics cover art.
Yeah.
And it's very in that genre, but it doesn't hit like Later Death does, because at some point Chuck Schuldiner is like, okay, what if I actually just started writing about what I feel inside? And that shit takes his music to the next fucking level. I don't know what it is, but his next albums are like, he's just talking about how can I be good? You know, what does it mean to lead a good life?
Yeah. His lyrics get very deep.
Yeah.
I appreciate them a lot. And I also appreciate that Chuck Schuldiner is not only... I mean, this was something that, he struggled with, but he was a vocalist and the lead guitarist, which I always like. I always like when they don't wimp out and get a dedicated vocalist. Yeah. Like, just learn how to do both. It will be very hard, though. It is very hard to do.
Yeah, especially with, like, what Chuck Schuldiner was playing. I mean, like, Tom Araya is a great vocalist / bass player, but his riffs are pretty easy to play while singing. Not so for Chuck Schuldiner. He's just going all over the place. He's doing the spider fretboard fingers. Very technically skilled guitar player, while also doing these growl vocals that are totally rhythmically different than what he's playing.
Yeah.
And it's a sight to behold. You would know better live shows. What are some live shows you can recommend?
Well, there's basically just two on YouTube. There's the live in LA and then a live in Eindhoven, some German festival. So there's really just two. They're both great. They're both worth checking out in full. You should definitely go listen to them. In terms of listening to Death, though, what album... the album that is generally thought of to be what I think is their best is... now I'm off their page and I can't remember the name of it.
Sound of Perseverance?
Yeah, Sound of Perseverance, which is their last album. Yeah. But their highest selling record is the one that you like most, I think, was Human.
Human, yeah. It peaked in the MTV era. It got a lot of coverage in peak 90s MTV. And it's very... I absolutely understand why it did well, because it's very grunge. It has, like, a lot of the themes of grunge. It has a lot of Cobain introspection shit to it, which is, I think, why it got big at the time it did. But, yeah, Sound of Perseverance is, like, very... also, Human is all about, like, I think it's about... I don't know what he was going through at the time, but it seems like it's about depression. It's about just going through incredibly defensive, like, you have songs about, I'm putting the mask on constantly. You have songs called Suicide Machine, which eventually dissolve into him experiencing ego death throughout the album and, like, talking about sort of cosmic vistas as he sort of depersonalizes throughout this, like, journey throughout his... And as a depression person, speaking as a depression person, but someone who has, gone through, who has been diagnosed with major depressive disorder and has experienced a lot of the stuff that Chuck Schuldiner seems to be talking about in that album, it really is great. He really has a knack for the poetry of conveying that type of inner turmoil. And I think... it stands amongst the best depression albums. Like, I would put Death's Human up next to, like, an Elliott Smith album any day of the week.
It's definitely one to throw out at parties.
Yes.
It's definitely one that I would get really drunk and then upset when someone would turn off at a party.
Well, because I also love how it starts, too, because it starts with the song Flattening of Emotions, which has this... it's like, oh, is this hot for teacher? Is it gonna be hot for teacher? It's because it has this really, like, infectious like machine gun drums thing going on, and then it's like it starts with this incredibly dark arpeggiated riff. It's like, no, this is not hot for teacher. You're not gonna have a good time. You're gonna have an intense time.
Oh, Hot for Teacher is such a good song.
It is that is another metal song.
I love Van Halen.
They are metal, but they don't. They're sort of their own thing, really. Or are they rock? Are they rock or metal? Van Halen, rock or metal?
I think they're hard rock, dude.
They're a hard rock band, like Blue Oyster Cult.
Just as a tie-in, I've started to see ads for Bill and Ted 3.
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah!
We can all agree that the Bill and Ted franchise is a beautiful franchise.
Yes, it is.
I love Alex Winter.
It's too bad
He's in one of my favorite underrated movies, Freaked.
It's too bad that George Carlin is not around.
Who are they getting to be the Rufus surrogate?
I don't know.
Are they going to have a CGI George Carlin?
They should.
And the CGI George Carlin is talking about what bullshit the CGI George Carlin is. They fucking rose me out of the fucking...
It'd be funny if they just had CGI Princess Leia. Just floating through space.
That shit is incredibly dark. That is some incredibly dark shit, this fucking reviving dead actors. Because think about having, like, the rights to their likeness, Oh, God. That someone has the rights to reproduce your image and make you say whatever you want.
Well, soon it's crazy because now we can't. I mean, you can't have actors like doing filming because of COVID. So if we can just have old actors' likenesses, we may never need actors again.
There you go.
Which would be very crazy.
It's Romeo and Juliet starring the Tupac hologram and the other Tupac hologram.
It's just Tupac and Tupac.
So, my pick for, like, favorite Death album...
Tupac and Tupac. It's the new Romeo and Juliet, starring Tupac and Tupac as both Romeo and Juliet. He's just gay with himself.
Well, every part is Tupac. It's Mercutio Pac, and let's not forget about Tybalt Pac.
Tipac.
Man. I actually like Romeo and Juliet. I think it's a good play.
The play?
I think it's a fun play.
It's a fun play.
It's a fun play.
It's a fun play.
Even though they made us read it in high school, I still think I like a lot of the passages.
I was at the shitty public school for ninth grade, and so I had 1 year of shitty public school, and we didn't read Romeo and Juliet. We just watched both movies.
The Zeffirelli movie with the titty?
Yeah, we watched the Zeffirelli movie, and then we watched the Baz Luhrmann movie, and they were like, and that's Romeo and Juliet, class. We just...
Yeah, pretty much.
No. No, it's not. I hate that. I hate that our entire culture is replacing reading with films.
That's great.
It's not.
Reading blows.
No, it doesn't. It's
reading's for seconds.
No, it isn't. It's better for your brain.
It is absolutely better for your brain. Just like how death is better for your brain than Cannibal Corpse. No shitting on Cannibal Corpse. They're okay. Kind of dumb. But I love them still.
They're grindcore, right?
No, they're death metal. They're full-on Florida death metal. Grindcore is more like Napalm Death.
Okay.
Closer to punk.
I think we forgot to say death is from Florida, Orlando.
Wait, they are from Florida, Orlando? Yeah. I thought they were from South Carolina.
They're from Florida.
No, that's Nile. Nile is from South Carolina.
From Florida, Orlando. Nile is a very funny band that's much into Egyptian mythology.
Yes, all of their albums are called Renhotep of the Myth, Darkness, or something like that.
And they take forever to make albums because they have to like plot it all out to be like completely aligned with the movement of the stars as according to like Egyptian mythology. It's very cool. It is also very deep growl vocals.
And sort of the production is not the best.
Not so good. So
you will not hear everything. If you want to hear everything,
are like covering everything.
Oh, that's another thing that I wanted to mention about Death is like very unique production as well in terms of especially for a death metal album where. The genres of death and black metal, while not necessarily related, sort of shared an ethos of using shitty production as like a vehicle for conveying darkness. Mm-hmm. Not so with death, where you can like hear everything crystal fucking clear, and it's very melodic. You can, especially the bass, which is like a joke in Metalocalypse, is that they mix out Murderface all the time. But that absolutely happens in metal, where you just can't hear the bass because like the crunchy guitar bass is overtaking it completely. Not so in Death, which takes a weird approach to how it mixes the bass, where it mixes it really trebly, so that you can just hear the bass line very clearly, interacting and intersecting with all of the guitar lines as well.
I think their bass guy, I don't know, I think their bass guy stayed with them while they would get a rotating crew of second guitar player and drummer. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of why. I also think he's a jazz guy. I think that's where we get the prog rock influence, because there's a lot. Death actually has some pretty progressive. I'm not talking like Elizabeth Warren. I'm talking.
Nah.
I'm talking the kind of progressive where it's a lot of scales and shredding.
Yeah, and not only scale. So what I also wanted to talk about too is that the harmonic differences between the three eras of Death are very interesting. As I was listening, so the early era of Death, the gore Death is very new wave of British heavy metal music. Occasion, like a lot of tritones, but like British heavy metal, new wave of British heavy metal is marked by a lot of these chord progressions. And there was a continuity between that and Chuck Schuldiner's early songwriting. And then middle period Death is very modal, where it's like we're just playing so many fucking weird riffs that we're basically droning on E all the time, and it doesn't really matter what the chords backing it are. And then late period Death, Sound of Perseverance, which is, I think their most technically complex album and their most fascinating album, like from like a musical theory standpoint, incorporates actual harmony, like actual weird fucked up chord progressions backing the crazy melodic lines.
Yeah. That's a disorienting album.
Yeah.
That's a very disorienting album at first, because they switch between ideas quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And there's, like, some of the songs you're like, this seems like it's 17 different songs. But you have to...
But that's also what makes it cool. Like, rapidly shifting through key and time signatures.
Yep. You have to unwrap it a little bit, and then once you do, it makes sense. And it's cool, but it can take a little bit of a listening curve. But I found something that's interesting that's happened to me is that I used to be only into clean vocals for metal, and I would not listen to any metal with growl vocals, and that has kind of shifted to where now I can't listen to clean tone. I can't listen to clean tone metal vocals now. It's just annoying. But I don't know. I kind of chalk that up to listening to Death, but also Meshuggah, of course. But Meshuggah's different. Meshuggah's a one-of-a-kind band that's maybe my favorite band ever. So
Meshuggah. We should also talk about Meshuggah. So we're talking about Death, which I think Death is like, when you say that they are a band that everyone should listen to, I think that is absolutely true. They're significant in the history of music in general. Meshuggah, on the other hand, I would say, if you're not into metal, you might like Meshuggah less than... They're less universally applicable.
Maybe. I mean, I kind of think they all are. They all also are worthy of everyone listening to, because they did invent a genre themselves as well. They invented gent, which is it's not like, taking the metal universe by storm, but it is its own standalone genre, and there are many copycat bands.
Oh yeah, well yeah. Because they just had a specific way of producing their albums and getting a guitar tone, and like pairing bass drum hits with riffs, that became very influential in the way that. The reason why it's called gent, I believe, is because the guitar sound. It's an onomatopoeia for how the guitar sounds when being downstroked. Gent, 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 gent.
They and it was he figured out, Frederick Thorndahl figured out how to kill all feedback. So they're a feedback-less band, and they have quiet spaces in between. Like the reason it can gent is because when he palm mutes the chord and there's silence after it, there's no feedback. And that, you don't necessarily think about that, but all other metal bands, their guitars are so loud that if you palm mute a chord and you're not playing something, it's gonna feedback.
Yeah.
But because it doesn't, it goes completely silent. So there is actual negative space in between the chords, which lends itself to their ridiculous polyrhythms.
Yeah, you can hear every note very clearly, which is, another anomaly in, say, the death or black metal genre, which, as we said before, sort of made its bones on having incredibly unclear production. So, which actually we could now talk about Burzum.
Yeah, let's talk about Burzum. But before we get did you see this movie Lord of Chaos? Did you hear about it?
What is Lord of Chaos?
Okay, Lord of Chaos is a movie about Burzum and Varg and the murder of Euronymous, and Rory Culkin is in it, and he's playing Euronymous, and then there's and then there's another person who's playing Varg, but another pretty boy, and it's very funny. I can't wait to watch it.
I would just get Lighthouse Willem Dafoe to play Varg.
Oh, he's too old now because he was young.
He was young at the time, but he's always seemed like an old lighthouse keeper to me. I don't know why.
I've always known about Burzum, and I kind of wrote them off as being too lo-fi, but it's good. I didn't realize how much synth is in it.
There's a lot of synth.
It's very synth heavy. Mm-hmm. And I also didn't realize how much of a nerd Varg is.
Yes.
He is very much into tabletop RPGs, so we're talking like Dungeons and Dragons. That's like his main thing. He's making his own RPG, and of course, it's just a racist,
white
RPG.
Supremacy RPG.
We've talked about him before on the show. He's a white supremacist. He's off on Twitter, discussing whether or not Southern Italians are the same genetic makeup as ancient Egyptians, and it's just who the fuck cares?
That's the new Nile album, actually.
But Burzum was good music, and there's 4 good Burzum albums before he goes to jail for the horrific and bloody murder of Euronymous, who was another bandmate.
He was the lead singer of Mayhem.
Not lead singer, guitar player. The lead singer of Mayhem. The lead singer of Mayhem was a guy called Dead.
Yeah, he was just called Dead.
And this guy Dead killed himself, and then they used the picture of his bloody corpse for an album cover. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Dead, the lead singer of Mayhem, Dead, lived up to his name. You might say
he sure did.
He sure did. He sure did.
That is always the horrible thing. It's because the black metal scene, the Norwegian black metal scene where this all erupted, just seems like a series of escalating dares, essentially, that got way too out of hand. Well, because they were all trying to be the metalist metal guy that ever metaled.
The way Varg describes it is that what they would do in the mid '80s, late '80s, is they would all get together and dress up in their face paint and then go out and LARP and with with swords and shields and go fight each other in the woods. And that's how the scene started.
We're seeing that's how Quidditch started too. That's how competitive Quidditch started. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And look at where they are today, disowning their creator.
Oh, did the competitive Quidditch teams disown J.K. Rowling?
That would be awesome. I would love it. I was thinking about that the other day.
We should try to get them.
Our Quidditch team. Trans rights, okay? Our Quidditch team says trans rights, okay?
Let's go troll the
Gryffindor Shopley Boops are not going to be... The University of Tennessee Shopley Boops are not going to be cowed by J.K. Rowling's bigotry, okay? We can continue to play inclusive Quidditch, okay?
Let's fucking troll them. Let's do it.
Wait, is there a University of Tennessee Shopley Boops Quidditch
There's
team?
A U.S. Quidditch, usquidditch.org. It's a mixed gender contact sport. What do they mean by that?
A mixed gender contact sport. So
how many of the different genders do you allow to play?
There you go.
All of them?
Have they disavowed J.K. Rowling? That's the most important question. Has the U.S. Quidditch League disavowed J.K. Rowling?
Let's ask.
Have they made a post on their site saying like trans lives matter or trans rights, or saying trans women are women, or
I'm searching.
Fuck TERFs.
No, I don't see anything. Media
Boo
resource.
U.S. Quidditch. Denounce J.K. Rowling, U.S. Quidditch.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna boycott you.
Let's get them to. Let's force them into making a statement.
Hell yeah! Are you emailing them right now? Or are you at their contact?
I'm on their web. Yeah, I found press. It's press at usquidditch.org.
There you go. So the fact that you have not made a statement about J.K. Rowling's turfery is disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourselves.
Well, I mean,
Please clarify your position.
The 13th U.S. Quidditch Cup was canceled because of COVID, so...
Oh, no! The 13th?
Yeah.
The 13th? How many people participate in this?
A lot. I don't get... Do they have to have, like, a broomstick in between their legs the whole time they're running around? That's hilarious.
I think they do.
Oh my god.
That's part of the game.
Yes, it is. They are all... Oh, I'm watching it now. It's just...
You're watching competitive Quidditch right now?
It just looks like lacrosse, but they're all holding the sticks wrong. They're all... Oh, God.
Hey, if you don't like straddling, you're not going to like this. You're not a fan of straddling. If you're not Izzy Stradlin from Guns N' Roses.
These are well-attended games, but
People love this shit.
They all look like they're holding a big dick. And it's their own.
People love Harry Potter. People love this shit. They love it more than their firstborn children. They can't get enough of it. They feel it applies to everything in their life.
We should have banned it when the Presbyterians wanted us to. You know, we should have banned
You're
it.
Right. They were right. All of those Christians that said that Harry Potter was satanic were absolutely fucking right.
Yeah.
They were right on the money. It's just Satan. It's just neoliberal Satan politics. Fuck Harry Potter.
It's just Baphomet.
Baphomet?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Harry Potter was originally a sigil to Baphomet. But, you know, we got a little out of hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking... Yeah, there was also... So there was a Wizard Rock movement as well, which makes me think there must be where like bands called like Harry and the Potters and like Ginny and the Weasleys.
Yeah, there's wizard metal.
Would tour. So I imagine there must be wizard metal.
Yep.
Yes, specifically Harry Potter themed metal.
Oh yeah, there is. There's in fact 101. I found a list of 101 epic wizard metal bands you must hear before a dwarf rapes your princess.
People love Harry Potter. There is a cottage industry for Harry Potter themed metal. That's how much people love this stupid fucking genre. And that's how much it was important that J.K. Rowling shit the fucking bed. Because this has... I don't think people quite understand the amount of cultural cash this one stupid fucking boy wizard story has.
I mean, you mean cachet?
Cachet.
Or just cash?
I like saying cash.
Just cash.
Cachet money.
Yeah. Well, isn't she a billionaire now?
She was a billionaire. I think she donated her way out of a billionaireship, which people say, oh, that's great, but she's like a 900 millionaire now, so it's not, you know, she's not poor or nothing.
If I had $1 billion, I wouldn't donate a single penny of it. I would keep it all for myself and give it to no one.
I would buy Little St. James.
I would walk around and ask people if they wanted some, and then be like, that's so funny, because I won't give you any.
I would love to deny people money.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I couldn't. I'm too big of a softie.
Yeah, I know.
I would probably spend it extremely foolishly.
You would go give it to all one guy, the first guy that asked you on the street.
Yeah, like, I'm starving. You poor man, have it all. I don't deserve this. I'm going to go back to my job at the shit factory. It's an honest living.
That's where where else are we going to get all the shit?
I know. Hey, this shit doesn't come from anywhere.
This shit doesn't grow on trees.
No. What, do you think I just plant my shit seeds and it just sprouts a shit plant which turns into a shit tree? chop it with my shit axe and get the shit lumber.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just doing a Trailer Park Boys bit at this point. It's just talking like Leahy. And Trailer Park Boys, the greatest piece of Canadian culture, is now resonant again because Jerry Falwell Jr. got caught with his pants down at a Trailer Park Boys themed party on his boat.
Oh, it was a Trailer Park Boys themed party?
Yes, it was a Trailer Park Boys themed party.
What?
He was supposed to be dressed as Julian from Trailer Park Boys, or at least that's the excuse he gave as to why his jeans were unbuttoned with his sexy lady compatriot.
I mean, it looked bad. It did look like he had just finished impregnating her. The picture highly implied this is my barefoot wife and she just has one purpose, and that's to bear me children's. That's the vibe the picture gave off 100%. It was a weird looking picture, and now I can't believe it. He's on a leave of absence or stepped down.
I don't know if they forced him to resign or he resigned himself. Not resign, but taking as you said, leave of absence. So classic, and as many people are pointing out, this hews very close to the plot of the recent Danny McBride show, Righteous Gemstones. Which is wonderful. A wonderful, wonderful show.
Yeah. Uncle Baby Billy.
Uncle Baby Billy.
That's a good
Mama told me not to, I did anyway, misbehave. I think metal is also interesting in that it sort of occupies a similar niche as country or folk music, in that they're extant genres of guitar music that were once dominating the mainstream milieu that have since, become these little sub-communities that thrive, but no longer are part of this cultural discourse.
The funny
which
thing
is now pretty much exclusively dominated by hip-hop, you want to say?
Our cultural discourse? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's
in terms
good.
of our musical cultural discourse. It's
good.
all hip-hop.
That's how it should be.
And pop, and Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, come on. Who cares?
Folklore. People love folklore.
Oh,
Daniel
God.
Bryan, the wrestler, loves folklore.
If I want to go to sleep, I guess, sure. Boring.
Yeah.
I would way much rather listen to the, now I can't remember
the WAP is what you're talking about?
No,
Taylor Swift's WAP?
No. That one other girl who makes music.
The one other girl, that Carly Rae Jepsen?
No, the album that came out that got a 10 out of 10 on Pitchfork, right when quarantine.
An album came out that got to Fiona Apple?
Yeah. That album's way better.
They like Fiona Apple.
She's way better than Taylor Swift.
Fiona Apple's a good songwriter. She's genuinely very talented. I like the song Criminal. I don't know much about Fiona Apple.
That album is sick. So
a little more substantial than T Swift.
Yeah.
A little more thoughtful. Little less going straight for the middle.
Why? Taylor Swift has one vibe, and it's a boring one.
When you gonna date me? When you gonna date me? When you gonna date my pussy? Yeah.
When you gonna date me?
When you gonna date me? When you gonna date my pussy?
Is she gonna get married or what?
Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Her next thing, I feel like she's expressed all you can express based on being broken up with as a girlfriend, and now she needs to get married and divorced and then have an album.
I predict a lesbian album. I predict a gay turn and a lesbian album. You joke, but I think that's the next logical step for Taylor Swift. If, I've explored hetero heartbreak. What if it's time for homo heartbreak? And that's the new Taylor Swift album, Triple H Homo Heartbreak Hotel.
Triple H Homo Heartbreak Hotel. Has it got the wrestler Triple H involved somehow?
Yeah, the wrestler Triple H is involved. He co-produced the album. Yeah, said you have to use my initials. Mm-hmm. We're getting way. That's another funny subgenre is wrestler metal albums. I guess I get all the metal bands as Chris Jericho's Fozzy.
We were going to talk about Burzum. The Burzum music is synth heavy but good.
Okay.
The first 4 Burzum albums are cool. I don't know about the rest. And the way he described the music was that he was weaving a spell. and that he wanted to enchant the listener into, I guess, giving up Christianity in favor of like Norse paganism, which is what he's really
in favor
into.
Of Odin hammer worship.
Because according to Varg, the worst thing that ever happened was Christianity.
It's not the worst thing that ever happened.
According to him, he hates Christianity like so much. It's very funny.
You thought Christopher Hitchens hated Christianity. Mm-hmm. Well, I dislike Christianity as well.
So when
I'm not too fond of Christianity,
and so
when
Varg was on trial for murdering his bandmate by brutally stabbing him, the media and the prosecutor slandered him by calling him a Satanist, and he's
not a Satanist.
Very pissed off because he's not a Satanist at all. He's like, to be a Satanist means you have to believe in like a monotheistic Christian God.
Yeah, he believes in Odin.
Yeah. He's like, no, I believe in like magic and pagan shit, idiots. Fine, I'm going to go to jail.
Lame. I don't need your lame horn guy. I got my awesome hammer guy, you fucking bitch.
So very funny stuff. Yeah. Although he committed a murder. Like,
yeah.
He says,
actual bad dude, actual terrible human being, not like a Kanye bad dude, like really objectively an evil, terrible person.
And also did church burnings. He burned down
and church
3 or 4 churches in Norway.
I don't mind that as much.
Well, you shouldn't
was anyone in the church?
I don't know, but you shouldn't just burn other people's property down.
No. And, well, they were probably also historically important, and a lot of people like them. And, it's kind of a dick move. Kind of a dick move to burn down churches.
Arson is a dick move in general. It doesn't matter what the like. Come on, we know we shouldn't be doing arson.
I'm just saying. It's like I could see someone having a good reason to burn down a church, whereas murdering your bandmate and friend,
Well, he said that the Euronymous was going to kill him.
Okay,
but he wasn't immediately going to kill him.
Okay. That's not very believable coming from Varg.
But the way it went, Varg, he goes to Euronymous' apartment and is like, I feel like you're going to kill me soon, so I'm going to do it first. And the way he justifies it in his mind is that it was like a preemptive strike.
Hell yeah!
No, you can't do preemptive strikes. You can't just do preemptive strikes. So, I mean,
Sometimes you can do preemptive strikes. I remember in law school there was a case in Canadian law school. It was about a woman with battered woman syndrome or some psychological effect, but she had been diagnosed with a psychological disorder owing to her years of domestic abuse, and she killed her husband preemptively in the belief that he was going to kill her. Event, and she got off
like scot-free.
Yeah, wow. Scot-free.
Wow, I think that might at least be.
It's an extremely highly controversial case and challenged many times.
I think that might at least be like a couple years manslaughter or something.
Yes, man's laughter.
You can't.
But when I say this lady was a battered woman, she was a battered. She was tempura battered. Is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. If you read the fact pattern of the case and like the history of the guy's like domestic abuse, it's like even if this was a revenge killing, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
Obviously legally we can't abide by a revenge killing.
Well, maybe they could figure out.
So we're gonna massage it in this way.
I mean,
it's self-defense.
The whole problem is that the punishment with prison is not useful most of the time anyway for anyone.
Yeah.
So if they should figure out something else in general to do to people when they commit crimes besides stick them in jail. Like, I don't know.
House arrest.
Make them pick up trash.
Yeah. Fines. Well, I don't like fines either because that's just a tax on the poor. I'd rather jail should. We all agree that jail should really be only used as a last resort for people that must be segregated from society due to extenuating circumstances. Even in that case, those people are usually explainable by the fact that they have some sort of severe mental illness. So it's not necessarily jail, rather, but, vastly expanded mental health facilities that we would be looking for. Because, in my most radical mind, I don't think there should be prison for any nonviolent crime.
I don't think so. I mean...
Yeah. I don't think for theft, for fraud, for...
I think you just have to go live on a hippie commune.
Yeah. Or, you do house arrest for a while.
Hey, man, you can't steal anything here. It's all everyone's.
Maybe you get monitored or something. you get an ankle monitor. But,
yeah, different... I think, a lot of the times it's... we just need to set up some different... Instead of having society as a monolith, if we had several different things, like maybe this person's not working in this type of society, and he needs to go to a different type of society where, like hippie commune society, where there's no theft. The theft is impossible.
So what you're saying is we should have several ism lands. We can have communism land next to capitalism land. That's ideally what America was supposed to be.
Right.
And it kind of is that, except they don't allow virtually no communism in. But yeah, the idea of like federalism and having each state having this massive amount of governance over itself is that you could try experiments out, right? And like if one state experimented with socialist programs, which happens all the time, Romney Care in Massachusetts being the example, of a modern, like, vaguely socialist program coming out of the States that's adopted federally, then, logically America should have seen a development of more socially conscious states. But because, America's not really about that. America's not really about an experimental land. Like, the promise of federalism is not fulfilled because you restrict the political agency of the states to this very narrow neoliberal paradigm.
Yeah, America seems to be about imperialism and just controlling the world and controlling the world's economy. That sucks.
And it's very accepted, too, as like sort of... because I was watching Team America World Police the other day, and this movie is incredibly funny, but... it does land on some pretty bad politics in the end, where it basically says that, it's totally justifiable for us to act this way because we're the only type of people that can remove people like Kim Jong-un. Which especially, in like the wake of the Iraq War, when we know that the removal of Saddam Hussein was not only not necessary, but actively damaging to the region. I think, the eternal message of Team America, which is, dicks fuck assholes, but dicks also fuck pussies, so pussies get mad at dicks, but we need dicks to fuck assholes like Kim Jong-un, which is sort of like the main philosophical, or at least, foreign policy thesis that Team America lands on. It ages very poorly.
Yeah, Matt and Trey are not going to be writing our next Constitution and Bill of Rights, that's for sure.
Yeah. They're Matt and Trey, I love South Park, I love all that shit, but they're not, and they're allowed to be wrong occasionally. I think also, if you take all your political cues from South Park, you're a weak-minded person, so, like, they don't have to be... I also think, because there was this huge backlash against South Park that was, like, because they had bad takes in the past, we need to forget all of South Park and every good thing that South Park represents and had done for, like, animated comedy. And I think that was wrong-headed. I think we just have to, like, get used to the fact that it's okay for people to have bad takes sometimes.
Well, we forgot about South Park, and now we're just stuck with, like, BoJack Horseman.
Yeah. Cartoons can only be about depression.
I don't like my life.
No, BoJack Horseman is good. It's all right. It's pretty good. But yeah, it's the nanetification of adult animation.
What's this new Star Trek animated Star Trek thing? Have you seen that?
It's it's Star Trek Lower Decks, they call it, and it's basically Rick and Morty, but with Star Trek.
Star Trek Lowered Bar.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird how like this really sort of cheap looking Flash animation that Rick and Morty, even though Rick and Morty has some pretty good animation in it, it has spawned this really ugly style that has now become the stock style of like Netflix cartoons, which yeah, I'd really like some more originality in my cartoons, Netflix. Please promote more original cartoons.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot more cartoons because of COVID, though. So
hell yeah.
There probably will be some more original ones. Who knows?
That's a beautiful thing.
COVID will never end. So
you were talking earlier, speaking of cartoons, you were talking about Metalocalypse as sort of the final nail in the coffin.
Right.
And not a final nail, but a nail in the coffin of sort of metal being taken seriously as a mainstream thing, or at least a dominating part of the cultural conversation. I think the 70s and 80s for metal was that part where it's like bands like Led Zeppelin, even though they're hard rock, they sort of branched over into what many would consider metal, and were huge. They were the bands that defined the era. Similar with the 80s, you had Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, and more mainstream, you had Def Leppard.
Metallica.
Yeah, and Metallica. But yeah, the Black Album is one of the biggest selling albums of all time,
Yeah.
So, but, a metal album, not since the early 90s or the late 80s, hasn't hit as much in the cultural conversation.
I don't think it will. There's some time, I was thinking for a while that we might see a resurgence of metal. I think we might see a small one, but I don't think it's ever going to be like Metallica again.
I think what we're going to see is like, hip-hop sort of embracing a metal subgenre. There's going to be, like, maybe similar to Death Grips, but a little more like trap and swag oriented.
They tried it with country, and then it was wildly successful. And then country was like, "No, we're too racist for this."
That shit was great.
No, you can't. We're too racist. No. It's like, come on, why not? They're perfect for each other. They want to get married, but they're too racist to get married.
Traditionally metal doesn't mix well with rap either, which is there are only 3 good rap metal projects, but in my mind,
I don't even know. That's a lot. To me, there's really only Rage Against the Machine, and it's not always like rap.
Ice-T's Body Count, I would say. I like Ice-T's Body Count.
Is that a whole album?
And it's a band. It was Ice-T's rap metal band, and they were the guys that made Cop Killer. Which is I wanted, like, how fucking awesome Ice-T is to have made a hit fucking song called Cop Killer. What the fuck? Yeah. And then the ultimate guy that he is fucking later becomes a cop and plays a cop and makes millions of dollars playing a cop for 15 seasons of a show.
Maybe John Mouse is going to be the next person on Law and Order, because he also has a Hello. I'm an introverted cop, and can I solve this by staying indoors?
So yeah, Ice-T's Body Count, Rage Against the Machine, and the third is not a band, but one song, which is the Anthrax and Public Enemy Bring the Noise, which kicks ass.
Didn't Run DMC do a thing with Air? Oh, that was with Aerosmith.
Yeah, that was Walk This Way with Aerosmith, but that's not really metal. No. That was rap rock. That was the innovation. And, of course, rap rock is a terrible genre. I mean, people like Korn. Do you like Korn?
I don't. I've heard that early Korn is good, but I've never really gotten into Korn.
I just always remember Jonathan Davis beatboxing like he has Tourette's. Like going... and that's my lasting memory of Korn. But yeah, when every metal band, new metal was very influenced by hip hop, and it wasn't like rap rock in the way that rap rock had been envisioned.
Did POD do any rapping?
Rapping?
Did POD do any rapping?
I don't remember POD.
Oh well, Linkin Park, kind of.
They were.
They're decent.
Are they decent?
Yeah, they're decent. Check out they're decent. I think live, there's some really cool live stuff of them. And I mean, you can
because they got sort of derided. They're very they're proto-emo in a lot of ways, because they weren't an emo band, but they sort of had the...
He's a good singer.
Chester Bennington had a whiny quality to his voice.
He's good at singing. I don't care.
No, Chester Bennington is extremely good. He's a crazy good singer, but, like, the way that Chuck Schuldiner affects vulnerability, and the way that Chester Bennington affects vulnerability. Because Chuck Schuldiner, like... That's what's amazing about Death, is, like, if you read the lyrics, like, this guy has a gentleness of spirit, is, like, the only way I could describe it. He's, like, an animal lover. He, like, thinks a lot about how to be a good person. He's, like, talking about, how to resist temptation and, like, live in a way such that, you make people around you feel better, and he's talking about that. And, the music hits hard. The reason why it's, like, metal and growl vocals is because he's, like, really struggling with how to do this sort of thing. Whereas the way that sort of... And it's all about vulnerability. But the way that, say, Chester Bennington affects vulnerability is far more on the nose by going, crawling in my skin. It's less subtle. Which is, why I think it's goofier and more theatrical.
All the subtle parts are the rapping parts. Those are
you're
all the
right, Mike
parts.
Shinoda, the greatest rapper of all time.
Oh, I like Linkin Park live only.
Okay.
I don't like
one thing.
Look up they have some cool live festival stuff on YouTube from like the mid-aughts that will make you nostalgic, because it's done well, it's high quality production value, and they are pretty good musicians, I would say.
I will say the Linkin Park song, which I objectively think is just fucking kick-ass, is it the one that goes Breathe? Is it Breathe? It's called. It goes. The riff is do 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 breathe 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 breathe. And Jay-Z did a popular mix with them, which was like another rap metal project. I guess
we'll have to have a hip hop episode soon where I know even less.
Two white bars talking about two white bars.
I know even less about hip hop. I only really know about Wu-Tang and affiliates. The Wu-Tang affiliates.
I know some hip hops. I've listened to some hops.
I've listened to some, but it's such a huge genre that, like, I've only splashed around in some little corners with the Wu-Tang.
Yeah, but I think we could do something. Yeah, well, yeah, the Wu-Tang, but Wu-Tang also spills out, not unlike Death, they're sort of a nexus point for a lot of genres of rap, where they operate in their own, because they're just so foundational to everything that came before and everything that came after, they operate in their own little genre by themselves.
Yeah.
Like, Death is a death metal band in that they make metal that the band Death makes.
Right.
And no other band quite makes metal like that.
Yeah, most other death metal won't sound like Death.
Yeah.
Which is, you should note.
Morbid Angel, which was their sort of closest band mates on the Relapse Records, sounds extremely different than Death. Which is like, whenever people sound this music all sounds similar, it's like, no, put Morbid Angel and Death back to back, and like Morbid Angel like has the muddier production that is more characteristic of that sort of 90s Florida death metal.
I do like that they on purpose made it as badly recorded as they could. Varg was like, Varg was like, I want a helicopter microphone that they use from 1950s to record guitars.
Yeah. So, yeah, and black metal, which is not to be confused with death metal, was known for extremely shitty production.
I think
intentionally extremely shitty production.
Do you know Ulver, the band Ulver?
Ulver? No, I don't know.
So Ulver is maybe the pinnacle of the lo-fi, because the guy who is Ulver went out to the Black Forest to record in a forest. And it sounds...
Great acoustics in this forest.
Yeah, no good... Like, it's tinny as can be.
Yeah.
So it's the most lo-fi, but of course it has the spirit of the forest in it, which... And it was, of course, the Black Forest in Germany.
Filled with the mists, right.
Yeah. God, they're so into magic with a CK.
Yeah. Sigils and, putting out thought forms and tulpas into the world.
Oh, so I watched Hereditary, by the way.
Oh! You watched Hereditary as a follow-up to the movie episode.
Yeah, I watched
where
Hereditary.
we talked about Midsommar. You said you had never seen Hereditary.
Yo, that shit was scary.
Yo, Hereditary is scary, man. God, there are too many ghosts. What's that in the corner?
Oh, shit.
Oh, no!
Smiling naked guy.
And I like how it turns out to be spoilers. It's Payman in the end. It's not the devil, but rather like a different demon from hell.
Yeah, there's like 8 or 9 kings of hell. And
oh yeah. Well, did you ever get into the Ars Gusha or the Lesser Key
I
of
downloaded
Solomon?
it because I was like, shit.
That shit is super cool.
I downloaded, but I'm not going to read that shit. Are you kidding? I don't want to conjure up a weirdo demon up in me. He's going to make me cut my dick off.
It's only if you summon the dick-cutting demon.
So I found
Dick-Cutosaur.
I was looking up the list of demons that are in this thing, and there's one who's like, they're all like, one's like the Duke of Hell, and the other's the King of Hell, and then there's one who's President of Hell.
President of Hell.
Like, what?
It's Hell Election Day.
Okay. Yeah. I thought that would just be Ronald Reagan, but I guess not.
Yeah, it's just Republican and Republican. Yeah. No, the Democrats are just as bad. Current politics is hell.
So in the ending sequence of Hereditary, when you see the smiling guy again from the funeral, because you remember you see the smiling guy in the funeral at the of the little girl at the beginning, and you're kind of like, why is this guy grinning and smiling? Yeah. And then he comes back later as a cult member.
Yeah.
That
turns out the whole time.
That shit. I had to watch Hereditary with the volume turned almost down all the way, which is what I do. My coping mechanism for scary movies is I turn the volume down almost all the way. And then I pause it every 20 seconds. And I'm just like, okay, guess I'm maybe turn the volume down a little bit more. So there were some things I missed out on, but I knew they were happening because I have the subtitles on. So
yeah, I mean, it's also like it's more of a visual movie than a dialogue-driven movie. So that's
when there's some clicks, like tongue clicks, that supposedly scared the shit out of other people who had like surround sound. Because there's like if you have a surround sound system, like I was reading the Reddit people what they had to say about it. And one guy was like, I had a amazing surround sound system that freaked the shit out of me because one of the tongue clicks, when you're not expecting it, comes like in the back, like,
oh my God. Good mixing,
man.
Good spooky. How to mix spooky sounds. But yeah, Hereditary is good.
Oh, it's too scary.
The plot is Toni Collette. At the beginning, her mother has died. She's had a terrible relationship with her mother.
Terrible.
Terrible. And she's got a weird daughter. And some weird stuff starts happening, and eventually we learn. We think as the audience that this weird stuff is happening to the daughter, but then something else happens. It is a movie that I usually don't care about spoilers, but there is something that happens in the movie which, like, if you don't know what's going to happen, it genuinely affects the movie if you know what is going to happen. So I won't spoil it.
I think I know which
that
part.
Scene.
I was telling my listener and friend of the pod, Dan, about Hereditary, and he said that part that you're referring to had been spoiled for him. So he was hesitating not to watch it. But now I can say to Dan, friend of the pod, please watch Hereditary. It will scare the shit out of you.
Good.
It will scare your shit right out of your body, and then the shit will be next to you, and you'll be like, how'd that get there? And then you'll be like, whoa. Maybe my shit is possessed. Whoa.
It's a very good companion piece to Midsommar because it's all about like family angst.
Yeah, and there's it's very similar to like, very much a companion piece. The cults are in both of them, which is interesting.
But Midsommar is way funnier. Midsommar is like almost plays like a comedy in some respects, whereas there are no jokes in Hereditary.
Well, this is whenever Ann Dowd is in anything, I always feel better.
Okay, yeah.
I always just feel
great.
better because she's like such a motherly figure.
Did you watch The Leftovers?
Yeah. She's great in The Leftovers. She's great in everything. She's great in and of course the Handmaid's. I always say it wrong.
Handmaids?
The Handmaiden's Tale.
Okay.
The Handmaiden's Tales.
I heard that show took a deep dive after they ran out of book.
Yeah, they ran out of book after the first season. That's kind of why I didn't like to watch it as much, because they ran out of book. But
yeah, Ann Dowd is a great character actor. She has a great part. She's perfectly cast in Hereditary for the part she plays.
She's good in everything.
Because she seems welcoming, but then there's something else.
Well, I mean, I don't... Yeah, I guess we're going to do more spoilers, but I do like how, like, she kind of just disappears after her role is done. She just does her role, and it's gone. And then it just... And then the scary sequence starts. Mm-hmm. And, poor Gabriel Byrne.
Oh, he's Gabriel Byrne.
Gabriel Byrne.
In this movie, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I do. Another weird thing about the movie and like the meta of the movie is that the director gave some in-depth interviews, like explaining stuff. And so the movie also has really hardcore fans. And if you go and say anything, like if you have any theories about the movie that is at all contradictory to anything the director said, they'll jump down your throat. And they're like, no, he said that this happened and this is how it was.
Yeah, Ari Aster is obviously a very talented guy, but he's gaining a rabid following of film nerds who look like me, who are like fat beardo losers. But I'd like to think I'm slightly less annoying than them.
It's funny. It's funny when the director will. I don't think that he should do that though, because part of what's cool about art is everyone's different interpretations. So when you give a final. You give the final word on how to interpret something, then you're really limiting the scope of the reach. But
I think Ari Aster is the type of guy that is like, look, this is how I interpreted the film, but obviously, it's
that's
art.
not how the fans.
Oh no, he says it's like there's one interpretation.
Well, I don't know, kind of. I mean, we'd have to get more into spoilers, but in terms of who...
Fuck it, let's go into spoilers. Who the fuck... This movie is 2 years old, 3 years old.
The arguments are, around, Charlie, whether she was actually Charlie, or if this demon Payman was in her the whole time. And then, if, when he switches to her brother, if there's anything left of Charlie, because Ann Dowd's character calls out to Charlie, when at the end after the ceremony has happened and Payman is inside the older brother, she calls him Charlie, and people are like, well, wait, is Charlie inside the older brother and Payman? And apparently the obvious answer is that all three of them are in there, and it's the inversion of the Holy Trinity. That's obvious to me. But
obvious.
Some other
is that what Oster says?
I'm trying to remember. I think, according to the fans, it's just Payman, but I don't. That's not. Okay. I don't think that's true. It's quite obviously the inversion of. It's Charlie the brother,
a spirit,
and Payman,
a corporeal form, and a daughter. I don't know.
A sacrificial lamb.
Ooh.
I mean it's the inversion of the Holy Trinity. That's what it's supposed to be. That's why there's three in one now. There's Charlie, the older brother whose name I can't remember, and Payman. So
yeah. The guy who's also in the Jumanji movies. 3-in-1s, they in Hindu mythology there's the Trimurti of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, right? So that operates, a lot of in a lot of mythologies there's always this trinity of, I think it sort of in Hinduism it represents the cycle of birth, maintenance, and death, of creation, maintenance, and death, creation, existence, and death. So, and I think that sort of vaguely tacks on to the Christian idea as well, of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, creation, existence, and death.
The nice thing about Hereditary is that it has a happy ending, in my opinion.
In a way, yes.
It's like, they got... Because,
they got what they wanted.
The Exorcist doesn't have have a happy ending. The Exorcist has a scary ending that it's not happy. It's just but Azuzu or Pazuzu or whatever seems to have he seems to have been exorcised, and then that's not it's not really what you want. That sucks for Pazuzu. No one's thinking about him.
Where is the justice for Pazuzu? That little girl was his only way into our dimension, and we shunned him like we shunned an old soup.
Maybe Pazuzu would have had some insights for us, I don't know, an interesting lasagna recipe.
Your mother's in here with me, cooking lasagna. But yes, another great scary little girl movie.
Yeah, I would say Exorcist is on the same level of scary as Hereditary. I don't know. I haven't seen many movies scarier than Hereditary, but I also kind of believe in the occult.
Well, also, like, I mean, the best scary movies are the ones that don't just show you weird stuff, but make you think about weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Exorcist has that quality where you're just thinking about it. Where, like, a solitary shot of those fucking stairs, you know, chills you to the bone more than any sort of, like, gory special effect.
Well, I also
or,
watched...
like, jump scare from a Paranormal Activity.
I also watched Wicker Man. And
Wicker Man! The original?
Yeah. It's kind of like, meh.
Not the Nick Cage version? Yeah, the original's a little slow.
I mean, that's...
And it sort of comes down on the side of Christianity in the end, which is like...
It was just an awful, flimsy cage to be trapped in. a weak dude.
Yeah.
Bust on out of there.
You know...
Come on. It's Wicker.
He has too much British respectability to, you know, disrespect a craft as beautiful as the Wicker Man.
Christopher Lee was delightful. He was a delightful man. He was so funny. He's like, what? But of course. Oh, you're looking for Rowan? You mean the hair?
See, that's my ultimate job is like whimsical but dangerous town leader.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
I really want to go to like a remote island off the coast of England. Like, have you heard of the Orkney Islands?
Yes, the Scottish Islands.
I would love to visit the Orkney Islands.
Yes.
Because I was looking
They would get very mad if you called it England.
Oh, because they're not England?
No, I'm scared! But I'm not! Ya wee cunts! Yeah, they would call you ya wee cunts or something.
Hey, this is a cool part of England.
Yeah, you should go to Scotland.
They would be pissed. Okay.
Yeah, the Orkneys are cool. They're right above. They're as north can be in the.
No, there's another island. It's the what are they called? There's another island.
The Hebrides?
No, there's another thing.
I love the Hebrides. I would love to go to the Hebrides.
I think.
Also, shout out. It's not metal, but Fingal's Cave by the composer Mendelssohn from the Hebrides Suite. Everyone knows that one because it goes do 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 do.
Oh, the Shetland Islands.
The Shetland Islands, yeah, they're really cool.
Those are above Orkney.
Yes.
Orkney is like very close to Scotland, but the Shetland Islands are like less, almost sort of not. They're closer.
They're closer to Norway.
Right. And then there's the
and
Faroe
actually, like, if you listen to the accents of people from the Shetland Islands, they almost sound Scandinavian.
Yeah, the reason I was finding out about the Orkney Islands is because there were some big battles that took place there, especially regarding the Christianization of Scandinavia. And there's a big...
Wait, was this part of your whole Burzum? Did Burzum get you into the Christianization of Scandinavia?
I was trying to read about the Christianization of Scandinavia, and there's like a cathedral of St. Magnus, and Magnus was a saint who helped Christianize the Scandinavians.
Pretty cool.
It's cool. I would love to go there when the COVID's over. I even found an Airbnb that I want to go to. And of course they have that horrifying English breakfast that just sucks. It's like, oh, here, we burned a tomato, and here's some beans from a can. And
here's some curdled blood.
Yeah, here's a blood sausage. It's blood sausage. We barely cook it, and
here's a tube of curdled blood. Do you like tubes of curdled blood? We love it here in England.
What do you mean you don't like burned tomato? What?
Well, it's a full English breakfast.
How about?
Well, you're not very full English.
How about raw mushroom? You like raw mushroom and burned tomato? It's for breakfast.
What? It's not a full English breakfast without liquid diarrhea. You're really not doing it right if you don't have a big, at least three quarters teaspoons of liquid diarrhea.
We figured out a way to cook the yolk of the egg, but not the white, and then we fry that up and give it to you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yummy.
We figured out a way to spit the uncooked egg directly into your mouth, and that's a full English breakfast.
Very funny thing about Orkney, I've just discovered, is that they have a town called Twat.
Beautiful.
Twat.
And another beautiful day out here in Twat. The Orkney Isles were twatting up about. Man. Also, another thing, it's not related to metal at all, but the Developing Peterson Watch 2020 has Jordan Peterson. Peterson Watch. Speaking of death and Jordan Peterson, he apparently, according to latest reports, in the treatment clinic in Serbia where he was chilling out, apparently has contracted COVID-19.
He got it.
And he's looking worse for the wear, according to his daughter / Weekend at Bernie's style puppet handler, Mikhaila Peterson.
So there's an interview from June of 2020 where he is alive and being interviewed. And he does, I mean, it's either an amazing spoof and fake, which I don't think it is, or he's not dead. I don't think he's dead. I think he's just been
he's not dead, but it's just funny to think about.
Well, I thought he might actually be dead for a while.
Yeah, it seemed that way. But he wasn't making...
Now, who knows? Now he might be dead again.
I mean, I guess it was just so shocking because Jordan Peterson was this guy that endlessly produced content. Like, you would see, like, a new Jordan Peterson video fucking every day because he was constantly coming up with weird new insights into the Jungian implications of Disney movies. So once you have this guy that's just been this constant, permanent internet fixture just suddenly cut off after a while, it's like he seems more absent as a result of it.
Yeah. Well, we certainly need him because the dork enlightenment has really been suffering without his influence.
Yeah. We're losing our daddy figures. Elon Musk is a terrible daddy figure for the dork enlightenment. Peter Thiel is not charismatic. We need a man.
Dave Rubin.
We need a man.
Dave Rubin is an idiot who can't think for himself.
No.
At all.
Dave Rubin, I think nothing has ever I have never wanted to beat up a person more you know that clip of Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro, and Dave Rubin is like, so you wouldn't come to any of my wedding parties, Ben Shapiro? Nah, I wouldn't come to any of your parties. Nah, not if it's a gay thing. Well, what if it's just like a casual party, Ben Shapiro? What if we did that? And Ben Shapiro, nah, it'd still be a gay thing. I didn't like it. And it's like, I've never wanted to have some fucking self-respect as a gay man, you fucking brick.
Come on.
You fucking asshole cowing to this little death elf. You fuck.
Ben Shapiro is such a shithead.
Yeah, he's... I don't think he's the worst. I think Dave Rubin is actually worse than Ben Shapiro in my weird cosmology because at least Ben Shapiro seems to have conviction. You know, at least it doesn't seem like just a grift. It's like partially a grift, but at least he seems to like actually believe the shit that he's slinging. Whereas, like, Dave Rubin is totally, evidently just craven and just doing this for the chick. Which sort of makes it worse, because it means that he could have any political ideology, and he chooses this one because it makes the most money.
I guess. I guess it makes him money, that is. I mean, he's definitely the biggest grifter. I don't think he has any beliefs. No,
he's a blank slate.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to have beliefs. Because they get challenged, and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, you might actually have to think about stuff.
It doesn't feel good when your beliefs get challenged, because those are your beliefs. And fuck, why are you challenged?
They hold you up. They're like your bones. Yeah. Imagine if someone just kneecapped you. Oh, that's like when someone challenges, your opinions about Scorsese.
Ooh, Scorsese. Isn't Scorsese working on another movie? I think he is, right?
Is he working on
movie about
another
the 20s?
Movie? A follow-up to The Irishman called The Scotsman?
Scorsese? No, that'll never happen. Come on. Who gives a fuck?
I would love Scorsese's Chuck Schuldiner movie. Scorsese should make a Chuck Schuldiner.
Just be Rolling Stones songs the whole time.
Yeah, it's the Rolling Stones all over the set. Back when I was a kid growing up in Florida, we had some...
So
Ray Liotta as Chuck Schuldiner.
His next movie is Killers of the Flower Moon.
Okay, that sounds crazy. That sounds like a Jodorowsky title or something like that. What is the synopsis?
Yeah, the 20s. It's the 20s.
Oh, it's the 20s.
String of murders of members of the... I don't know how to pronounce it. Osage Nation in Oklahoma. It's either Osage or Osage.
I don't know. I'm not indigenously woke.
Yeah, a native people's tribe, either Osage or Osage or Osage Nation in Oklahoma after oil was discovered beneath their land. So, a chilling series of slayings was one of the fledgling FBI's first major homicide investigations. And it will have unknown actors Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Never heard of those guys.
Never heard of those. I think maybe it will give them some room to shine in their debut films. Thank goodness that finally getting some fresh faces out there. You know,
some fresh, pudgy Italian faces.
Yeah.
People often forget that Leonardo DiCaprio is Italian. I don't know why.
Do they forget that?
Dude, I don't know. He doesn't look Italian. He doesn't like. I don't get like De Niro looks fucking Italian. You know, Al Pacino looks fucking Italian.
I mean, that might just be cultural indoctrination. You know,
it probably is. But like Leonardo DiCaprio, I don't know. It doesn't seem like an Italian to me. You know, it doesn't look like a stereotypical Italian. You know,
maybe he is only a little bit Italian. You know, but he just got the name like
how Joe Rogan is mostly Italian but has an Irish name.
Yeah, stuff like that. You know, yeah.
I like Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan.
I like Joe Rogan
He's my
too.
hero.
I mean, he's not my hero.
He's my absolute hero. Number one guy. Hunt venison. Have fun. Ben Shapiro. Don't challenge Ben Shapiro's views that well. He does. No, that's not true. He will occasionally challenge a Shapiro statement, but he's not up to taking Ben Shapiro to task about stuff.
I think Joe Rogan
but that's not really his vibe anyway.
Joe Rogan could help with the I think Joe Rogan should do some running for office, frankly.
We need more Rogans.
Yeah.
We need more common sense Roganism.
Roganomics. Make it easier for me to get magic mushrooms, because right now the only way I can think of is to buy fucking spores, and then it's a pain in the ass to grow them. I was looking up how do I grow magic mushrooms, and it's like, well, first you need a completely bacteria-free room, and you're going to have to wipe down your entire bathroom and then seal it off from the outside. I'm like, what? No.
This shit grows in the ground naturally, and I'm supposed to take all these stuff.
It's supposed to grow in cow poop. Why do I have to make everything sanitary? But
yeah, that's the old Carlin joke. That's where the phrase "that's good shit" comes from.
Really?
Yeah, the Carlin joke was no, that's Bill Hicks. It's a Bill Hicks joke.
Hicks.
I was mixing up my polemical comedians.
Bill Hicks.
Is he good? Is Bill Hicks good? Does he age well?
He does not age well. No.
Okay. But he was good for the time.
He is okay. He toured with Tool. I like Tool. I don't care that Maynard likes cops. Maynard likes cops? Yeah, Maynard is pro-cop.
That's funny. And also, not out... I think that's a good place for the episode to end.
Maynard is very pro... Oh, well. I mean, the new Tool album is good, but it's not because of Maynard.
Yeah.
It's because...
Also... another thing that I would like to say before the end of the episode is don't expect your musical heroes to have good politics. Mm-hmm. You'll end up in a world of hurt if you try and listen to everyone that has good politics.
Yeah, the only people that should have good politics are the young adult authors.
Yes, exactly.
Sayonara.
Bye.